Hi guys, welcome to day 2 of learning Figma with Design. Now if you're here for the first time, I definitely recommend you that you go ahead and watch the previous video in this particular series where we started off with designing on Figma. In this video, we're going to be talking about pages and communities and what's the difference between the online and the offline version so that you understand what interface suits you the most. Now the thing is that Figma is usable on multiple platforms. It is available on the browser and it is available as an app also, whether you're working on Windows or Mac, everything works. It's not as easily usable in an iPad or a mobile phone because you can't prototype that easily, but there is something called FigJam. Now the thing about FigJam is that it is a collaborative tool that is used to work with different people on your ideas and not a prototype, and that's why it's available in multiple places. But if you're working on Figma and you're going to be creating prototypes, I recommend you to use the browser or to use one of the apps. Actually, I like the app and you can go ahead and do the same thing if you can possibly. Right, so let's dive into both of these interfaces and see what's the slight differences over here. So why don't you go ahead and try opening Figma on your browser and installing it on your system as well, and I'll quickly tell you about how you can play around with these interfaces so your work is going to be seamless. But before we do that, let me do a quick introduction or a recap about the UX program that we do have. I've mentioned this earlier that we have a certification course in user experience. We are going to be adding more content about Figma and UI tools over there as well. So keep an eye out for that. So once you're done with that, start learning about UI and UX from that course and then come back over here. Let's go through Figma through a different lenses and we're going to be reaching that ultimate objective of creating the Linked app as well. So let's get started. So here I have the browser version of Figma. It looks very simple. You can see that there are certain particular projects over here. I can search for multiple things and there is a search bar. Recent, your team's drafts. If you're using the free version of Figma, you might just want to use the drafts version because that is where you can do unlimited projects. It is completely free, yes. And if you are going to be creating in your teams or shared files, then it's a limit of I think 3 projects that you can share and work with your friends and family. So you probably have to go inside your drafts and make sure that you create new projects over here, or when you do that, you can do that from the design file over here as well, right? So you can see that this button over here, that this text is selected drafts. You can choose to do that and shift if necessary. You can move to a different project by right clicking over here and we can select move file as well. Right, okay, not too difficult. There are team projects, that's where you can share everything with your team, and there are drafts that you have by yourself. You can share your drafts also with people, but we'll talk about that later. So that's the thing about Figma, not too difficult, nothing too complicated over here. You can see multiple projects that you probably have come across. And why do I have so many projects? I'll talk about that, about the community, which is one of the largest communities in terms of design about Figma. But before that, let's do a quick comparison with the offline version. So I do have the Figma app available over here, and I can see multiple tabs that are possible directly inside this. So what happens over here is it looks very similar. You'll probably see very similar UI over here. Now the thing is, slightly differently, I can open multiple tabs right in this single window, and there is an explore community button over here as well. When I do that, you'll be able to access a new community page which has a lot of different assets that you can use in your upcoming projects. We'll do a quick dive in that, but you can see that this happens over here in this particular small tab. Now this one looks like an internet and you can end up having only one tab through which you can explore the community. So I generally prefer shifting between Chrome or one of my browsers when I'm browsing the community and making sure that I have projects which open in the Figma platform or the Figma app on my system. So if you do have Figma available over here in your browser, there's one thing that you might want to learn before you jump between using different platforms. So if you're using the browser for browsing and then Figma, the app for designing, you might want to do something like this. When you open up one of these projects, let's say I do open up over here you can go to the Figma button, select open in desktop app, or you can even select right click over here, go to preferences and make sure that open link in desktop app. Well, that works very well because every time that I browse something from the community, it directly opens up in my Figma app over here. That saves a lot of time between jumping different things, right? Okay, so once that is done, I probably would want to explain you about the pages of Figma. Now again, if you're a free user, you have a limit of 3 pages. But what are pages? In a simple project, you can have multiple pages. Each of these pages could be dedicated to whatever you think. Over here, you can see that there are a total of 3 pages that are available over here. Let me give you a simple example from this community project. Now you can see that Brainstorm Design System is a community project that I've opened, and there are multiple pages over here. Now all of these different pages are dedicated to their own things. So you have grid, colors, typography, icons, and multiple things just like that over here in the number of pages over here. Now the thing is, you might not be able to do it if you're using the free version. If you're using the paid version, go ahead, enjoy that number of pages that you can get. And this is from this particular community project, which is Brainstorming Design System. And why am I talking about this particular community project? Actually, I'm not talking about this project, I'm talking about a community project in general. I did mention earlier that Figma has a very huge community resource library. That means if I go to the browser over here, I can explore a lot of different platforms, different projects that people have created over here. So maybe something for development. We can see that there are multiple projects that have been created over here. Catalog admin panel, WhatsApp UI for loyalty program, perfumes original app, and so much more. Very similarly, I can select going back over here and I can choose something from virtual assets. And there is another set of libraries over here, and this is not all. Of course, you can always search for some things and then use that to try and open up your project and see how that works as well. But here's a nice thing that is there with all of these different projects. You don't have to actually go ahead and open that project. You can even try out that project in the preview tab over here. So I have this small project that I've opened, 20 plus free bubbles assets. I can see the multiple pages over here and I can browse in those pages what is the content in that project as well. And isn't that nice? So once I am sure that this is what I would want, I can open this directly in Figma, and that will let me get into the editing space. So more often than not, I will have all of these assets that have been created within Figma itself and will be able to copy from one project to another very easily by just using copy paste option. Isn't that great? Now, a couple of projects that we are going to be using across when we are creating the Linked app is, one of them is the Brainstorm Design System. It's a good reference for us to get started on design systems, and we'll see this in one of the upcoming videos. But for now, all I need for you to do is explore this community. Figma has a huge community library and there is so much that you can get only from the community directly. Of course, there are paid and free versions, but you just want to go ahead and try out everything that is available, don't you? So go ahead, do that, and I will find you in the upcoming video where we will talk about the next topic, which is about frames and sections. So I will see you in that video. In the meantime, make sure to like this particular video, subscribe so you can follow up for the upcoming videos, and share this with somebody who you think needs to learn Figma. I will see you in the next one.